Hey, it's the video lesson for 4.7, and this is dividing fractions. Now, the good news is we've been doing this on our homework all year, so I think you're going to be pretty good at this already. So I'm going to start with example 1, and I'm going to have you try one real quick. So in example 1, we have the problem, 1/2 divided by 1/3. And we are going to change this to a multiplication problem by using keep, change, flip, KCF. Now let me get some workspace. That's better, and I'm going to keep the first fraction the same, keep it 1/2. Change it to multiplication and flip 1/3 to its reciprocal, 3/1. Next, I look for some bow tie reducing. No reducing with the 1 and the 1 or the 3 and the 2. Half doesn't reduce and 3/1 doesn't reduce, so we just have to solve this one. Oh, there we go, and 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. Since it's improper, we have to change it to a mixed number. So I'm going to do 3 divided by 2, which is 1. Remember to do the circle. Oops, sorry, I can't write and talk at the same time. Subtract to get 1. It's going to be 1 and 1/2. That's your final answer. All right, now we're going to go down and I'm going to have you try problem A. So I want you to pause the video, try problem A, restart it when you're done. Go. All right, so how did you do? Let's check out each step and make sure you fix it if you had it wrong. So, did you start with keep, change, flip, KCF? Did you keep it 1/4, change it to multiplication, and flip it to 8/3? Next, did you get the bow tie reducing in this one? 4 goes into itself once, and 4 goes into 8 2 times. Now, if you didn't get the bow tie reducing, you might still have your answer right, but try to get the bow tie reducing. Last, I multiply, I get 2/3, and that is your final answer. You don't have to do a division problem like in the example because it's not improper. You only do that when the big number is on the top. So if you had A, give yourself a C. You're doing great. Now, the next ones I want you to do is I want you to do B and C on your own. If you made a mistake in A, learn from it and don't make the same mistake in B and C. And when you're done with these two problems, restart the video and see if you got them right. Go ahead. All right, so let's start with B. First, I'm going to start by writing keep, change, flip, and I'm going to keep it 2/3, change it to multiplication, and flip it to 8/3. Next, I'm going to look for any bow tie reducing. So in this one, 2/3 doesn't reduce and neither does 8/3, and 2/3 doesn't reduce and neither does 8/3. So guess what? There is no bow tie reducing. Don't reduce sideways. That doesn't work. So now I'm going to solve. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 3 is 9. Did you make it this far? Now, since it is an improper fraction, the big number's on top, we have to do 16 divided by 9. 9 goes into 16 once. If I subtract, I get 7. So it's going to be 1 7/9. That is your final answer in simplest form. All right, and let's check out C. So I'm going to keep it, change it, and flip it. Keep it 5/6, change it to multiplication, and flip it to 3/1. The only bow tie reducing is the 3 and the 6. So 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 6 twice. When I multiply, I do 5 times 1, which is 5, 2 times 1, which is 2, and since it's improper, I'm going to do 5 divided by 2, which is 2, and 1/2. So 5/2 simplifies to 2.5. Final answer. All right, how'd you do on B and C? If you got them both right, you pretty much know what we're doing today. We're just going to throw a real-world problem at you. So, in example 2, it says, write a story context for 2/3 divided by 1/6. Use a model to solve. You don't have to use a model if you don't want to. But how do you write a story context? In other words, a word problem for that. So here's what you have to know. You have to have 2/3 of something that you're splitting into equal groups of 1/6. So how can you write a problem? Well, let's see how the book did it here. So it says, Mariska has 2/3 pound of sunflower seeds. You see how she has 2/3 of something? And each day she feeds the cardinals in her yard 1/6 pound of seed. So she's taking her 2/3 and she's splitting it into equal groups of 1/6. For how many days will she be able to feed the cardinals? Now, we want you to solve these problems too, so that means she's taking her 2/3 and splitting it into equal groups of 1/6. And the answer will be the number of days she'll be able to feed the cardinals. So when I keep change flip, I'm going to make that 2/3 times 6/1. So when I bow tie reduce, 3 goes into itself once and 3 goes into 6 twice. When I multiply, I get 4/1, which is 4. Remember, we need a label. For how many days will she be able to feed the cardinals? She'll feed them for 4 days. All right, now, are you ready to make up one? In D, it says write a story context for 3/4 divided by 1/8, and you don't have to use a model to solve. So here's basically what your problem should have. You have 3/4 of something that you're splitting into equal groups of 1/8, and your answer should be how many of those 1/8 goes into 3/4. You can use the example above as a model, but don't use sunflower seeds. Try to do something different. So when you're done, write yours, and make sure you solve the division problem and answer your question. I will write my own, so pause the video and get started. Go ahead. Okay, so let's first, I'm gonna come up with my story problem, and then I'll show you the solution. So I'll pause the video and I'll write it. All right, so I just wrote my problem, and let me just show you how I'm taking 3/4 of something and splitting it into groups of 1/8. So I started with Mrs. Berge has 3/4 gallons of water. So that's what she has. She uses 1/8 gallon each time she makes coffee. So think, every time she makes coffee, she uses 1/8 of a gallon. So she's splitting her 3/4 gallons into equal groups of 1/8. And the question says, how many times can she make coffee? So to solve that problem, I'm going to solve do some keep change flips. So let me get some workspace here. All right, so I'm going to take Mrs. Berge's 3/4 gallons of water, and I'm going to change it to multiplication and flip the 1/8 to 8/1. Now, I'm going to look for bow tie reducing, and I see 4 goes into itself once and into 8 twice. When I multiply, I get 6/1, which means Mrs. Berge can make coffee 6 times. All right, so hopefully you got the division problem right, and hopefully your word problem came out pretty good. All right, the last, what I'm going to have you do, we won't go over example 3. The only thing I'll say about example 3 is make sure you make 10/1, 10 into 10/1, then do keep change flip. So don't forget to write it under over 1 before you flip it. All right, now, what I want you to do is we'll try E. Pause the video, do E, and restart it, and we'll go over it. Go ahead. All right, so let's see how you did. Did you write 4 as 4/1? Did you keep, change, flip? Keep it 8/9, change it to multiplication, and flip it to 1/4. Next, did you bow tie reduce? 4 goes into itself once, and 4 goes into 8 twice. Last, did you multiply and get 2/9? And that is simplest form. It's not improper, so don't divide. All right. Now your job is to do F and G. If you made a mistake on the last problem, learn from it and don't make the same mistake on F and G. Go. Okay, so let me start by writing the 8/1 and the 4/1. Now I'm going to keep change flip. I'm going to keep it 4/5, change it to multiplication, and flip it to 1/8. Next, the bow tie reducing. 4 goes into itself once and into 8 twice. And when I multiply, I get 1/10. It's not improper, so don't make it 10. You only do that if it were 10/1. That's my final answer for F. How about G? I'm going to keep it 12/13. Change it to multiplication and flip it to 1/4. I'll do some bow tie reducing. 12 goes into itself once, and it goes into 12 3 times. And I multiply, I get 3/13. It's not improper. Final answer. All right. Last thing I want to go over is just one more real world example. And I won't actually go over the division. We're just going to show you why this is a division problem. So in example 4, it says Ramon is making party favors. He is dividing 3/4 pounds of almonds into 12 packages. Write and solve an equation to find how many pounds of almonds are in each package. So here's what it's saying. He is taking his 3/4 pounds of ounces and splitting it into 12 packages, which would be 12 over 1. I guess I'll solve it just for fun. So you keep, change, flip, keep it 3/4, change it to multiplication, and flip it to 1/12. Look for some bow tie reducing. 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. And when I multiply, I get 1/16. Now what is my label going to be? Remember, the question says to find out how many pounds of almonds are in each package. That means in each package there's 1/16 pound, LB is the abbreviation, of almonds. All right, so when you're writing your division problem, remember, you're taking what you have and you're splitting it into equal groups. All right, that's it for today's video lesson. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask me. I know if you're absent, you're going to be doing some of the guided practice problems down here. As always, thanks for watching.